mics are on, I'm blaming IT. No, please forgive. I hope that I can pay it forward, and if you ever need to ask dispensation, that you remember that it was this day that I actually was working on something very, very important, and the next thing I know is it happens in Barber Land, 30 minutes turned into an hour. So, again, deep breath. At least we have a quorum. We have IT is rolling, so we're good. And I'm going to call us in. It's, see, I'm blind. Hold on. It's 10:07. Miss Ida, believe it or not, because I like this, we're going to stay in quickly for the Pledge of Allegiance. Stay right there, and then I'll lead us, and then we'll go right into your presentation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And because I need it this morning, would you stay standing? Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather here today. Please help all those in this room and all those that we serve to remember that it is by your grace that we are here. And we ask, Lord, that you help even all the servants that are here, and particularly bless all those that are in law enforcement, all those that do good for your community. Give us wisdom and grace and compassion today as we make important decisions, as we receive important information. But most of all, Lord, help this humble servant remember that you are in control, and that whenever we need to look for help, we look not further than your loving arms. Amen. Amen. Okay. I feel better now. Oh, I needed it. Why do we have to be 53? Why? I forgot we're televised. My grandmother just heard that. Okay. Good morning, Ida. Take us through your budget. We've all had an opportunity to look at it. We've asked all departments to highlight those variances first, and then tell us anything you want us to know about the department that you think is important. And then if I notice that you do have a person that's temporary, and I'm going to ask you specifically to address that. Any employee issue we're also looking at quite, in detail. So go ahead.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here this morning to go over some of our budget needs. And we reviewed our budget this year, and I wanted to start first by saying thank you very much. And I always, am very happy that y'all can support us. And I'm ready to inform you about the library's success that we have had in the past 12 years. That's how long I have been with the county. And I couldn't do this without the assistance of our librarians and our support staff. And this year, I want to especially thank Lisa Davis and Ms. Teresa McLemore for assisting us during the budget cycle. And first of all, the New Essex County Libraries are here to improve the quality of the life for all of the county residents, of providing resources and services to enhance the access to education, employment, and lifelong learning. We are not a learning resources center in South Texas. And the return of investment adds the value to the county, schools, and the businesses that we help so we can improve the local economy. And our public libraries come alive when teaming with people from all walks of life. We have the Family Place, and that has improved a lot because the Family Place Learning Center helps with the reading with the children in a comfortable chairs that create fun and welcoming environments. We have the children and teens that we have been providing STEAM technology, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. We have our high school and college students that are meeting at the library, and they're using our study rooms to have group discussions and use our online resources. We have a lot of job seekers who are working on their resumes. And we have people who are using the workforce development to look for work at the library. Business entrepreneurs are preparing presentations in the library using our space. Immigrants are learning English. We have a lot of people who are coming in as volunteers, and they're providing these resources for them at the library. We have our retirees that are also using the library. We are having authors, and they're promoting books at the library. And we also have South Texas artists that are promoting their art. And one of our artists this year, we had two. It was Laura Jimenez, our county attorney. And We also have several businesses that are our partners during the year, and I'll give you a few of them. We had CC Forbes, CJ Energy Service, Whataburger, that were having exams at the library using our facilities because they had to have exams in order for them to continue education, and so we let them use the areas to provide those benefits to them.
And we
And-
don't charge them either.
No, no, ma'am, no. They ask us if they can use the computers, and we allow them to come in. They're just patrons. We ask them, get a library card, and you can use the computers, and they take their exams. The people from Whataburger send their staff to take their accreditation for the food handler's permit. So they take the test online. So these benefits are free at the library due to the computers that we have at the library. And I did give you a little packet that has some visuals, and the little visual that we're going to be going over is the visual that Crystal and our librarians had, which is this one. And it says Nueces County Annual Report, our circulation statistics. We had 232,262 items that were checked out. 64% were checked out by children. And some of our achievements, we are accredited by the Texas State Library Archives Commission, and we do have about 14,994 cardholders. And 4 years ago, we had our first grant that was for $75,000, and in 3 years, we did have $275,000 granted to the library for us to be able to provide STEAM technology. And also, we also have the access to computers and computer classes at each location. We have free Wi-Fi, and we've had over 473,000 logins to our computer Wi-Fi.
I'm sorry, how many?
473,000. And I have a chart that we're going to go over so y'all can see from 16, 17, and 18, and from October 1 till now. And it'll give you the monthly, we communicated with IT, and they were able to give us the Wi-Fi accessibilities that we have every day, and for monthly, we have monthly accountability of how many Wi-Fi capabilities we have in the building. And we also, which was a very proud moment for us, was that we were reviewed on the National Library Journal on the exhibit that we had at the library. And after that exhibit, we had many people that wanted to know where our library was, and they wanted to make sure that they would come by to see our exhibit, which is, it was great to have our name in Nueces County Public Library in a National Library Journal. And of course, our funding, what county money supports is our Learning Resources Center. And there's some little graphs, books and materials, programming, technology, story time, after-school programs, meeting spaces, literacy, community outreach. And in the past 5 years, every year we have to do a Texas State Library and Archives Commission report. And in the past 5 years, this is how much we have increased in our programming and our visitors. Visitor count has increased 146%. In 2013, we had about 28.9%, and in 2018, it went up 71.1%, which is about 146%. And program attendance has increased 896.7%. We had 9.1% in 2013, and in 2018, it went up to 90.9%. And I have the figures down at the bottom. In 2013, we had 245 adults attending our programs, and in 2018, we had 9,488. And in teen programs, we had 157 teens in 2013, went up to 8,930. In 2018, we went from 3,295 to 15,988. And we are more than just about books, libraries, and places of information. We are a learning resource center that is opening access to texture databases, e-books, legal forms, audiobooks, genealogy, language instruction, and online magazines. You don't have to leave your home to use free resources available at the Nueces County Libraries. And by that, we will begin our first page that has our county library budget. And the first item that I did ask for a bit of increase was the 5126 for temporary employee salaries, which is increase in 8,615. And it will bring up the budget to about 50,000. And our temporary staff is the main people at the front desk that check in, check out materials. If a patron needs help at the computers, they need help on texture databases, and they're the main ones that are always at the front desk. And right now, with the budget that we only have 3 temporary staff, and we are open 50 hours a week at the library,
And so temporary means 20 hours a week?
20 hours, 20 to 28.
And this is a very trainable position, right, or not?
Well, I mean, a lot of people think that, well, anybody just off the street, but right now we are very fortunate, but not. 2 of the staff have bachelor's degrees, and one of them has about 3 years in Tamu Kingsville.
Okay.
And they've been there for about 4 or 5 years, and 2 of them are already going to get their master's on their own because they want to continue. But it's a little bit hard because we have to train them to use the databases. They have to do the circulation, and so I mean, some people say, well, anybody can do the circulation and it's a temp. But it takes a lot of training because we also have money handling. And if we have money handling, they have to go through training, and, we have to tell them how they have to accept the funding. And so it's not as easy as, people may think.
I'm going to ask Teresa a question, because so I'm seeing the 7480, and then if I did my 20%, would I get to 8615? How do I get to 8615?
That's the reclass. The 7480 is a reclass.
Is the reclass?
That's another one. Mhm.
Okay, that's something completely different.
Yes.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay, go ahead, Ida.
And so, they also help the librarians when we're doing children and teen adult programming. And if we do get a little bit more funding for the temporary, it'll save the county because we will not be asking for a full-time employee. We're just asking for temporary staff if we want a little bit of more temporary money.
Got it.
And then I'm also asking for the professional services expense, and that is for some of our technology programming that we have to pay, the $6,750, which will probably be for the biblioteca, which is our gates that we have. And I think it's every 2-3 years, the price goes up, and then we have to pay. So next year is that year that we have to pay an additional funding for that.
This isn't you asking for anything extra, it's just a subscription itself,
Yes,
Dale?
to-
And like she said, it's paid every 2 or 3 years. It's a large bill every 2 or 3 years.
We won't see this regularly.
No, it's not
Those-
regular. It's like every 3 years that this does, and it's a $20,000 to $25,000 cost for a 3 year, for 3 years.
Okay,
And then I'm also asking for the $4,650 for the 5410 for other services and charges, and that is our book budget. And due to the increase in audiovisual materials, books, and I also have a little graph that's called the collection counts and values of publication by years. And it's about a 5-page report that will show you how many books we have at Bishop. And Bishop currently has about 5,221 books, and the value is roughly about 92,000. And the Keach Family Library has approximately 49,673 items, and that's about a $1,157,000 budget for that. So a lot of these items are from, and some of these, we'll have to go back and look at the dates, because it says that we have a book from 1890, which I don't think so. It may be 1980. So a lot of these books, and usually libraries have about an 8 to 10 year lifespan, which, so a lot of these books are way past like 25, 30 years, which we have to do weeding. And in a little bit, I'll go over what is it that we need for us to do the weeding at the library in order for us to do inventory every, 2-3 years. We're really supposed to do it every year, but we don't have the capability at this time, and I'll go over that in a few minutes. But, so this list will tell you how many books we have and how many books we have to review. And it doesn't mean that we're going to get rid of all these books, but it just means that we have to do inventory and assess the collection. Any questions so far?
Oh, I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you were getting this grant money, and it was pretty hefty. What did y'all do with that grant money?
It was for STEM technology.
STEM
3
technology.
years,
I
yes.
missed it.
And
You said
we had a lot of, we purchased, 1 year we purchased desktops, and we had a 3D printer, so they were doing STEM technology and teaching the children in the computer room, in the lab that we had. And second year, they bought iPads, and then the third year, I think it was Surface Pros. And plus, we have a lot of Makerspace and Ozobots and Makey, and, yeah. So we have a lot. So now we're just continuing to get grants. And also, I'll explain that we applied for one for 2020, and there's a document in the last page that'll tell you that we just received a notification last week that we did get a $10,000 grant for 2019, 2020.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. And this,
And then did we already go over the travel, or
oh, no, I forgot that one. Let me go back.
just in the
Yes,
interest of complete?
and, yes, and I asked for a little bit of additional funding, 2,500. I have 2 new staff, and since now we have a family place libraries, it's not just a place where the kids go and sit down and play. They have to learn a lot of things, and that is held in New York. And the Texas State Library gives us a stipend, and the other portion is just to pay for the flight. And that's pretty much the most expensive. So I want to have a little bit of funding for that. And I was just going to review the changes that we had because of our Public Works Department that made changes to our staff that we have, our custodial staff. It's also to cover additional mileage, gas going to and from to Bishop, since we don't have the custodial staff that's doing that anymore. Because on January 1st, Mr. Juan Pimentel made changes to the custodial staff, because I have a custodial staff in the building, but he's not under my directive. He's under the directive of Public Works. And we had a meeting with Dale and Tyner and Pimentel, and we reviewed that. And he can, because it's under his staff, it's under his administration. But it affected our budget, because now, since January 1st up until now, until September 30th, we will have to do traveling more than what we normally did, because this staff he would take supplies, he would take the STEM technology. If she was going to have a program on Monday or Tuesday, he would take her the computers, the laptops, and he would take it over there to Bishop. If she needed arts and craft material, he would take it over there. Once a month, we have to receive her funding for the money handling, that we have to do a report. So he would go pick up the money and bring it to the library. You know, we do the accountability, we deposit. And so all of these things we're having to do on a weekly, every week we have to go do supplies, pick up. She has books that we have to go drop off. People request interlibrary loans, or if we have books at our library that the patron needs, we have to go drop them off to Bishop. So these are little inconveniences that we were never accustomed to do it in the past 11 years. It was done by the custodial staff because he has a company truck. And, you know, we don't. We have our own vehicle, so we have to go to Bishop. And he would also come to the courthouse to drop off the auditor's forms or pick up supplies, and we have to do that now. So I think I had a discussion with the county judge when we had our departmental meeting, and I told her that there's a lot of misconception between lots of departments in the county, because we're not in the courthouse. We are in Robstown, and we have a library in Bishop. And there's many people that from different departments that are coming to the courthouse on a daily basis, once or twice or 3 times a day, and there's no communication. Especially, you know, with purchasing, you know, we have purchasing pickups, we have supplies. So that's another thing that I mentioned to the judge, that, you know, maybe we need to work out with different departments that are here and or that are in Robstown and need to come to Corpus, so we don't have to be doing these trips back and forth, and there's just no communication between the departments.
So what was his reasoning to stop him from doing that, since he had a vehicle that was the county's and you guys don't? I'm just curious what the reasoning was.
He just said he wanted to not, and, well, one of them was because the airport was being built. But you see, the airport had not budgeted last year for that department because they had the new airport. So they were going to utilize the services from my custodial staff to go over there, but the airport still wasn't open. So he just said, you know, he can't do this anymore. So he just stopped.
And I think just kind of make a mental note, commissioners, the issue is a good one to talk about. It's this idea of, we have a lot of people running back and forth. Just juveniles, another big one, libraries, another big one. I think if we were to put our heads together, we could actually save the county a lot of money if we actually had a specified runner department or somebody that it could actually say, on these days, I'm going to do, you know. Because there's actually somebody whose duty it is just to like pick up checks. Don't you come and pick up checks?
We've had checks that we had.
It doesn't make sense.
And I know there's people that come from different departments, but, they just do their thing, and
Or purchase orders, or,
I know Dale said he's working on things too, where we can, that it's going to be there, where we can now, eventually one day we can scan and send the auditors, the invoices, but for right now, they need the actual invoices.
And that's just not a best use of time.
no, because it's 30 mile, I mean, it's a very long way.
And we try to, we're gonna do a run, okay, we're gonna do it on a day where we need to go drop off auditors, we need to go pick up a check, we need to go do supplies, or if I'm gonna come to Commissioners Court, but it's just on a certain day, and not to say, that George does come to the courthouse. If they're gonna do supplies on Friday, we already know, okay, on Friday, he's gonna go do supplies, so, and Pimentel was very happy to say, well, he can go if they have a trip to do here, but it can't be a special trip. And he cannot go to Bishop at all. So that was stressed.
Yeah, and we've had lots of discussions about this, and one of my solutions, and I spoke with Commissioner Gonzalez about this, but we need to further that discussion is, so the reason the Bishop is so important is that that's how they get their supplies. So in order to maybe lessen that load, if we could just convert a storage unit a storage area there where we have, I mean, yes, it will cost us extra supplies, but it'll save us an employee going back and forth. Anyway, we're very well aware of it, so we're trying to make that a real solution. It doesn't make sense, but it is important to know that airport was not budgeted for janitorial. And so when we look at the airport's budget, just remember that, because she has a tremendous volume of people coming through there, and not having proper health and janitorial services is not good for us, because a lot of kids. Anyway, again, it was a matter of money and personnel, and they split it to accommodate the airport. And now I think what Ida's saying is that we need to look at that again. Let's see, was there anything else?
We're
There's
going
a
to
bunch
talk
of,
about health risk in front of the health department.
I know it. It was.
Dr. Dante really.
It was deliberate, Well, no, but I do believe that children, they touch things differently than adults, right? And they use things differently than adults. And we just need to be mindful that, when we say, do we need janitorial services? Well, who's your audience? I mean, what's the use? And anyway, there's a lot of equipment on capital outlay. In the time that we have left, first let's stop and ask commissioners if they have any more questions for what you've talked about. And then we can just briefly tell us, because it's a really good packet on all the capital outlay. But if there is a priority there,
And I am going to remove some items off the list. First of all, we are not going to request the Chevrolet Tahoe after all. I just made a decision to take it off the list, so automatically that's 36,000 off the list. And I'd like to thank, I know Commissioner Jack is not here, but when I added the Bishop Branch Library furniture, we did need some, she is getting 40 to 50, sometimes up to 60 little children in that little small branch, twice a week, sometimes 3 times. And so she needed tables and chairs, and when I submitted my packet, I spoke to him, and I asked him afterwards, I said, sir, do you have any, funding for, because it's going to be the summer reading program. And he said, you know what do you need? And so I told him. So he's already purchased, and we've already received it. So it's at the Bishop Library. We got some tables and chairs, and, I have to commend him to thank you, because, Lori asked, and I told her, I said, all I can do is ask, I'll
are
put it
they
on my
little
budget.
people's tables and
Yes,
chairs?
yes, and they can be moved to certain sizes for the little children and the bigger children that are maybe 8, 10 to 12. So we got to, and thank you to Edward, because Edward sent his staff to go pick them up, and Sly went to go put them
I
up.
was in San Antonio, I remember that day.
And so we were real happy that he was able to do that, and we're happy that we have that additional
So we're going to take
furniture.
that off our list.
Yes, ma'am. And so, and my priorities are going to be the library wireless project, the Meraki, Cisco, and the Cisco Firepower. Those are the 4 items. And the reason that we are doing that, Judge and Commissioners, is because before Commissioner Ortiz left, he extended the firewall from the Richard M. Borchard Fairgrounds, which was many thousands of dollars, and the exterior of the project was finished. The fiber optic project was finished from the exterior, from the fairgrounds to the Keach Family Library. But we needed this extra the Meraki, the wireless, and the Cisco Firepowers in order for us to get the full power of the capability of the Wi-Fi in the building. So right now, we're at like 0.5%. So if we needed the additional, we need to add this, which is going to be 7,700, which is non-capital, and the other two items are 10,535. So that's about $18,000. That's a priority for us to be able to finish that project that started almost 4 years ago, maybe 5. And I asked for it last year, but, I mean, I know there are 4 big ticket items, but we are communicating with Lance and Larry Medrano, and these were the major items that we need to have in order for us to get the full bandwidth capability at the library.
Ida, do you remember when the LAN folks, the CIP folks came to visit with you? Did you mention, because infrastructure also includes technology infrastructure. Do you remember putting that on their list? If not, it's all right. I just need to add it. I considered that infrastructure technology.
Yeah, and no, but I haven't gotten a visit for,
They haven't come to you yet? Okay, well, you will get visited. Just remember that people wouldn't be infrastructure.
and this is.
This is considered infrastructure, not, okay.
And so that will be my number one. And my second item is the Data Logic RIDA and the Logitech, and that's about $1,750 and $250, and that is what we need for us to be able to provide our staff to do the inventory at the library. And it's, we already have the laptops, but we need these, which is the scanner, and it's the keyboard. So if we get these 2 items, that's primarily a major item. And the third is the Bishop Branch Library video surveillance. And for a long time, she was the only one person. And last year, when we had more money, we went ahead and had her staff, one of her temporary staff, for 2 hours. And right now it's summer, so we did have a little bit of funding that we went ahead and set aside. So normally it's a one-person job, but we did give her a temporary staff. And we had issues last year, and I even contacted Margaret and Tyner, and there was a gentleman that had a big switchblade in the side, and he was carrying it, and he was like a really weird-looking gentleman, and my staff had never seen him in the library, and it was a day when she had lots of kids, so, she kind of panicked because, she was by herself, and yes, the constable is down the hall, but, she said, what do? I said, go down the hall and tell him to come see this guy and tell him to, why does he have that? He needs to put it away. And so he did. By the time she went to call the constable, the guy left because she heard him talking about it, like this guy had a big old humongous switchblade in the side of pocket. And so these are concerns about people that are coming to the library that, if there's a one person with, 5 families with 10, 12 kids, and, you see somebody like that, you don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to do anything or not.
So the video surveillance would be surveilled by the constable?
No, by us,
By you.
because we can have the capability of us helping surveil, and then she's open until 6 o'clock. So from 5 to 6, she's by herself for an hour, and she's had 2 incidents where she's called me back that a gentleman was in the restroom, and there was nobody else in the building. The people that are there in the building, they were gone. And she said there was a gentleman in the restroom, so she knocked to make sure, because she has to close the doors. And so she called me, she said, Ida, there was a man. I said, so what did you do? And she says, well, I told him to get out, but why was he there if nobody else? He was not in the library at all. So we don't know if he was trying to stay behind, or I don't know.
So you're going to use an employee just to look at cameras?
No.
Because I would think you would have to be looking at those cameras constantly.
No, but like usually we'll just have them up, but at least we can go back to see if something happens, or, because they get playback. You can.
And I get that, but to me, it's to protect them. Like I have cameras in my office and not here, but I don't look at them all the time.
No.
So I mean, if
Well, for
she
me,
wants to be safe, to me, someone should be looking at the cameras. I mean, that defeats the purpose, I think. That's just my opinion.
I'll tell you what, maybe what we could do is, we'll leave it on, but I'm going to make a note that really what we're looking at is just security and let the sheriff's and constable's office guide us on how to get her. I think what you're asking for is for safety for her and for the children and families that use the library. So I'm going to maybe not call it video surveillance. I'm going to I'll leave it as video surveillance, but I'm going to say, security.
Cameras, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's for cameras, because we have it at our library, and we've had to go back for issues that we've had.
I mean, she may be better served by a panic button, for instance, that actually calls a constable immediately.
Because ours has a panic button as well at our library. And
Does Bishop not?
No.
Okay, so that's, okay.
It's an option. That's a good idea.
Yes, ma'am. And then the other two items are library UPS support towers and replacement batteries, and those are, number 4. And number 5 is our IT staff needs a heavy-duty workbench, and that's about $1,500. So those are my 5 major items, and they're categorized by 1, 2. And Lisa Davis, I gave her the update, so she's going to review them and resubmit them to y'all. She made the changes this morning. Any
Okay, I have a
questions?
quick question for
Yes, ma'am.
Dale. I'm sorry, for Ida, for Dale and the auditors. So many of these items that are capital expenses also seem that they would be perfectly ripe for example, asking for a 501c3 donation of this item. Is that possible, Dale? What protocols do we have to set up for, let's say we were to apply, for XYZ Foundation for the purposes of a laptop? I was thinking the Gates Foundation, to be honest with you. That's what I was thinking. They do libraries, and they would probably fund a lot of this stuff.
Well, that's where it gets a little tricky because as we're a governmental entity, we're not a 501c3. We're a 502, some other number that doesn't qualify for a tax donation for people to donate some. And that's why some of these companies will not give to the county because they can't receive that as a donation on their taxes. So that's why they have to have a 501c3. And the problem with the 501c3 is it's very complicated to do this first. You have to create the 501c3, then you have to do your bylaws, and then you have to apply it for both the federal and state to accomplish this 501c3 and prove that you're a nonprofit organization. And then on an annual basis, you must file reports with the comptroller. Now, is it possible? Yes, if we can find someone that's willing to do this at the library, that'd be great. And once they get the money, they can donate it to the county if they choose, if that's in their bylaws.
Okay.
But for a company wanting to give to us as a 501c3, we can't do that.
Right, well, they would have to accept that it's not taxable, not
taxable.
not tax
They
exempt.
could definitely donate to the county, and of course, the county would have to receive it, but it wouldn't be considered as donated to a tax exempt organization.
It's just that Ida and I had this conversation about a possible Friends of the Library. So much of this, don't get me wrong, you should have the right to come to us and see these projects through, and I'm sure, but working with your county commissioner in my office, John, it seems like there's some really great businesses. I don't know, what do you think? Like a workbench, just take that. $1,500 doesn't seem like a lot, but multiply that 30 times by all the departments who need one $1,500 item, and it does add up. And I'm just thinking there's got to be, if people were aware of all of page 1 of what you do and all of the great businesses that are coming to the northwest part of our community, and they wanted to be helpful to the library that's really touching the most families of any other center, seems like we got to find a mechanism to give them the option. And I realize, but quite frankly, for a billion-dollar company like, let's say, Permaco, maybe they don't care about the exemption for $1,500. But we need a mechanism, right, so that we can say our library has a constant wish list, and they can marry up. If they're doing really well, they're availing themselves of the abatements of this county, they might want to think about giving back to the county at the same time.
And there are some grants, but for like the.
But not for a
wireless
workbench.
project, like.
I understand. No, we need private enterprise maybe to take an interest, right?
And definitely, if a organization or an individual donates to the county, they can't specify what the money is to be used for. They can't do that. And if the Commissioner's Court receives it on those points, that we can do that, but most people want a 501c3 to be able to do it as a tax deduction because they want that tax write-off from
Right.
the federal government level.
You know what I want to investigate is whether or not our newly formed NCDC, our Nueces County Development Commission, if they can, I know they are allowed to market and acquire dollars. I'm sure they can give dollars too. We need to look at that. What do you think about that, Tyner? Is that an interesting way to funnel money, so to speak? What do you think, John? It's your precinct.
Well, we've looked at Friends of the Library before, and we kind of got stuck on a county attorney opinion, and so maybe it's something we can look at in the next legislative
Yeah.
session to create. That was the stumbling block, because that was my thing too, coming in, is trying to create one. And I know there's been discussion before, but what really spurred it was Dr. Scott Elliff, who's very passionate about libraries
Yes,
and
he is.
education, was a part of our board there, and he resigned because, he's so spread thin, even in retirement, that he's doing so many things. And one of the things he did mention to us was, by the way, if a 501c3 is created, a Friends of the Library, I would love to serve on it. And I think that's really what kind of spurred the interest, and so we met with Ida and with some of the rest of the staff on this, and so I definitely think it's something worth looking into, and we realize it's the only way that we can get those grants that are out there, because they're not going to be donated just to a public entity like
Right.
us. So I think that's something we need to, reorganize on and push for
I
again.
think so too. I mean, I'm thrilled that you're opening up your resource rooms to Whataburger for their food handlers and for C&J Services, who I know very well. But quite frankly, I bet if we had a mechanism, then, you could ask a Whataburger, you know that you're using this library. Let us show you what this wireless tower, will do for you in the future, or would do for this. I mean, those are the perfect ways to do it. I'm not trying to shirk our responsibilities as a county, but what's happening is that you are so much more than a library. And I want to thank you for using the words Learning Resource Center as a closeout, because that's what you are today. And people that think that counties don't have any business in libraries don't understand what role you're playing in 2020. I heard the great Jim Clyburn just yesterday on national news say that he's obviously, gosh, Congressman Clyburn must be close to in his 80s in South Carolina. And he said that the greatest eye-opening experience he had doing town halls back in his district, I don't know if anybody saw this, was that fathers and mothers pick up their kids at Latchkey about 5:36, and they drive to McDonald's, and they go to the parking lot. And you know what they do there for the next hour and a half? Homework. You know why? Because they don't have internet at their home. And in the poorest part of our counties, in the rural areas, we need to understand that libraries are not about books. Of course they are, Ida. I know you want your money for your books, but they are so much more. And to be able to have computers and internet for our children in the northwest part of our county, and I'm going to scoop Ms. Vaughn's area in there too, is just absolutely critical. So forgive me, but I want to put our dollars in where you need them best to keep your employees, keeping that show rolling. And then I want to leave workbenches and what I call the small stuff. I know it's not small, but that kind of stuff to projects like a Friends of the Library or something like that. And yes, it's going to cost money to get it started and to keep it going annually, because it has to be, you have to fill out an IRS Form 990 every year. I mean, it isn't cheap, I know, because I have one. But there's no doubt that in the long run, we're going to be better served by doing those projects. And like I said, we just haven't asked. We haven't asked C&J for help. We haven't asked Whataburger for help. Who knows how many more people have used your services for free that could be helpful.
Businesses.
But people go to the library every day to get that Wi-Fi. And I just want people to understand, because I know county libraries get to be on the chopping block when budgets get tight, but I think we need to start changing this word library and start using Learning Resource Center. That's where these kids are getting their head start on robotics and STEM and computers and those 100 online courses. So, I mean, obviously you realize I'm totally biased. I love libraries. I would have been a great librarian. I love libraries too. I'm with Scott. But let's work together so that we make a real distinction on what this county can do budget-wise for you and what we think maybe, if we set it up right, what private enterprise, what do you think, Ms. Vaughn?
I'm just saying, the 501c3 is not that hard to do. We set one up for Old Bayview Cemetery for this very reason.
Is that right?
Yes, and it's not that hard. The bylaws, I mean, we found them, and you put specific things in there for the library where that money goes. It's not that difficult, and there are people out there, like you said, businesses that I think would donate.
Yes.
It would be so helpful to the county for them to do that.
It would.
And we have had a group that we have had steady for the past, probably March and April, and May, and we're stopped because of the summer. So we've got about 20 people and probably maybe 30 that are a lot better than we've had in the past years, because they want to form, and so we're gonna convene back in August after we do our summer reading. And with that group, because Dr. Matilda Science is on that, we have Belinda Flores, who's with the UT Science. So we've got a lot of people that are working with us to try and get, because they know the importance of the grants that we, Crystal and Jeannie are always looking at grants. And so, we just can't, because we don't qualify for the 501Cs.
Well, you could get you a small board that will oversee the monies where it's spent. It's not that difficult. It's worth.
We're gonna try back in
Fine,
August.
yeah.
hopefully.
I love every time I go by the library, there's a lot of homeschoolers. That's not even on the list here.
I didn't put
I
them.
mean, they're having classroom there every
We
day.
have two groups. One of them is from the Northwest, and they've already called Crystal that they want to come back, and they just meet.
And
They
we
meet
don't
at the
want to
library.
charge them. That's
No.
why, that's what your taxpayer dollars are
Yes.
for.
They
We don't want to charge them. I just like this idea of the 501c3, and I'm going to work with you and the rest of the commissioners on this idea of, we got to solve this running problem, right? I'm running here to drop off stuff. I'm running back to do things. It's gas, it's employee time. We got to do something, we got to do better there. So we're going to work on that for you. But I think I understand your presentation well, and it's helped us identify what we maybe need to do. And maybe Ms. Vaughn will share those bylaws with John. I mean, share the template.
A quick thing, we are trying to, as I was saying about trying to get invoices over, so my staff was out in Robstown just yesterday. They may have stopped at Robstown to try to get them where their invoices are now going to be electronically sent to
Yes,
us.
everywhere.
So we're trying to, we're getting out there. We went to the Robstown. I think we might have also went to the Calderon building.
Yes, they did.
While we're there to try to get them online, to get their invoices to us. So we're trying to release some of this travel.
Right. And we even identified that they have a wetland they've created for themselves unintentionally, but now there's a wetland and egrets and all kinds of water birds that are flocking to the back of Keach Ant Library. And as a result, we could have opened the door to having some dollars from
UT Marine Science.
from UTMSI. So this is something we should absolutely treasure. I'm jealous, John. This is, to me, just a treasure in your precinct that, so it just has so many multi-dimensions. It's so exciting, and I feel like we don't highlight it enough. So if there's a way, we're missing some commissioners. I'm worried about these, I worry in budget when people are looking for ways to cut things that they think, oh, that's an easy one. So if you don't mind, I'm going to challenge you to do the education on the people that didn't get to hear this great presentation.
Well, and we know, all these resources are shared resources, but, Precinct 1 is literally like within.
Oh, it's right
a mile or
there.
So within the library, and you see it, people don't think, oh, I'm going into another precinct. It's everyone's precinct, and like the times I did before has presented numbers, really impressed with the spread of interest from all over the county, from the island, from Northwest, from Petronila Bishop, that are coming over here. So I think the word is out. People know. I love to hear the stories about people even from outside our county that come and study or use.
We're
some
having
resources,
busloads of Mathis ISD coming for our STEM technology. We had buses from Port Aransas coming for STEM technology, and right before the end of the school year, they called Crystal and they wanted to come to the library, but we couldn't plan enough time because they were doing the summer reading program. So we said, we'll get your buses to come in October and September because it was too late.
From Port A?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. You need to tell.
Well, he knows because
Okay.
he was a greeter last year. I called him and I said, sir, remember the STEM technology? Because, he didn't think that libraries needed to be doing STEM technology.
Yeah.
But in our area, we do need to have STEM technology because the public schools do not have librarians. And they don't have librarians that are providing STEM technology. And so Port Aransas started calling us, especially after the hurricane. They don't have the capability. They don't have Wi-Fi. They don't have
Right.
any of the Ozobots. And so we are providing, we had 4 busloads from Port A come to the library in a week
Right.
to provide STEM technology.
Well, and we need to be really, really mindful. I'm going to harp last time, but so all these new businesses are coming, right? All this new energy businesses. And this is, if they don't have a way to give, they're not going to give. So we've got to spend a little money up front on this and find one good donor to help us fund the 501c3. to reap the great reward that's coming, because they're all coming, a lot of them are coming to that northwest part, and they'll might want to avail themselves of the library as well. So anyway, it's great work, and we'll make sure that we spread that message. Just remind us on, yeah, go ahead, that's what I was going to say. Go ahead and finish up on that.
My last item was one reclassification. A few years ago, my IT staff was under the direct supervision of the IT department. And when they redid the shuffling, they gave him to my department. And so that added one more to me and one less to them. And I think that's what they did. And then they reclassified all their positions in their departments, and they all got to step up and upgrade in pay. And when I wanted to get mine reclassified, we did not. And so I feel like my microcomputer specialist needs to get an upgrade, just like they did about 4 years ago. And I gave you two instances. I guess I gave you one from the Nueces County, and which is within our departments, and they have two microcomputer specialists that are earning about $47,598, and ours is only making $40,227. So I just want his to be comparable to what they're making, and that was within our department, within our county. And it was short notice, so we didn't have a chance to look at more, but that's going to be a project for me next week, that I'll look at more counties or more cities and see who has librarian or ITs in their department in order for us to be able to fulfill the needs that we need.
Yeah, because I got an education about this yesterday, which I didn't know, which Teresa enlightened me, which is when we do a reclassification, we're not just doing it to one department. If that person is the same in other departments, it would translate. Is that correct? So I wonder why this one didn't.
I asked, and they did not.
Okay, we're going to investigate that. In the interest of time, I'm going to get the health department up here.
The way the description is, it's saying computer specialists, and where ITs are analysts kind of stuff. So it might be a little bit change in the wording of what the description is, and that may why how it fell through.
Right. So that was something that was brought to my attention, that when we reclassify, we're doing it across the board. So I need to really work with you guys to say, if I'm interested in reclassifying a position, how does that affect us countywide?
Correct.
And I just need to work with Teresa on that, I guess. Okay, thank you, Miss Ida. Are there any
very much.
more?
Thank you,
Okay,
Judge.
appreciate it. Thanks to Crystal, thanks to your whole staff. Okay, let me just put this back in my notebook, and then come on up, Annette. We're so excited, our new appointee here,
Yes.
our new employee.
Yes,
Dr. Dante is my short version.
that's right. I have Dr. Dante Gonzalez here, my new Assistant Director for the Health District. Very excited to have him on board. And I also have a city accountant with me, Blandina Costley, and a county accountant with me, Leticia Hernandez. So thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Everybody ready now? Okay.
I'm going to regress just a little bit because I did the budget last week for the new city manager, and he really, since he was new, he wanted to know a little bit more about the health district. So I'm going to offer that same for our new county judge. So our mission is to prevent disease, disability, and premature death, and promote healthy lifestyles, and protect the health and the quality and the environment of all residents of Nueces County.
Just like to take the whole laptop?
Hang on just a second.
And you have the slides in front of you, so. The health district, we're located on Horn Road, but we don't just have one building. We actually oversee a total of 9 buildings. There's 6 of them that are city-owned and 3 that are county-owned. So we have the main health district on Horn Road. We have the WIC facility that's right behind there. We have the WIC administrative module that's right behind the main health district. We have our Williams Drive Clinic where we keep our records, and we've actually allowed the police department to use the front part of the Williams Drive Clinic. We have our Flower Bluff Clinic where we have WIC services. We have our Frost building where we have environmental services. We have the Calderon Building where we are bringing back our clinical services. We have a new doctor on board, Dr. Anna Frank. She's been with us about 1.5 years, and she's been working to kind of rebuild a book of business in the health district and get her Medicaid up and running. And so now we need to start moving that back to Robstown with back to school, immunizations, STD. We have the county animal control. We also have our public health preparedness modular that's on city property, but it's a county building. As you are well aware, we are a hybrid of city-county, and so that brings with it its whole set of differences. So the divisions are that we have at the Health District: administration, vital statistics, women health clinic services, where we also offer men's services for exams, TB services, STDs, immunizations, health education, public information, public health preparedness, emergency services, 1115 waiver projects, diabetes, our wellness center, community health, a pharmacy, central supply, laboratory services that include Texas Beach Watch, a biological safety laboratory level 3, right under that of the CDC laboratory, immunization services, WIC, environmental and consumer health.
And where is the picture located, which?
This picture is our vision
I was going
for.
to say, because I'm ready. Where is
It
that?
is actually, it's actually here at the, it's actually here at the courthouse. It's on the roof. And you haven't seen it yet because it hasn't been built, but it's going to be. So if there's not space in the building, we're going to the top. We're going to the roof. So, and we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. So I started with the city funding just to kind of give you a picture. The general fund is about 3.3 million with the city, 29.5 employees that are actually given to us by the city. On the grant side, we have 42.48 grant, and I included in there the rehab, which really isn't just the city. It's the city, the county, and San Patricio County. We did have conversations last week with the city manager, and he believes that we may need to revisit the rehab. He believes that the initial intent of rehab, that maybe that's not being fulfilled at this time, and so maybe that's one of those boards that maybe needs to be dissolved. I really was going to go to him asking for $31,000 because the city gives $31,000, contributes to rehab, Regional Health Awareness Board. The county of Nueces gives $31,000, and then San Patricio gives $21,000. But San Patricio is actually a year or two ahead and has given money, and the city and county haven't. But we don't need very much money because we only have a part-time position that kind of oversees as the liaison to put that board together. And so we do have money in the coffers. I want to say in excess of $60,000 in the coffers. And so in speaking to the city manager, he said that that's probably something that you guys all need to talk about. So just wanted to mention that. The county funding, we have, in the general fund, we have 1.4 million. We have 18.5 FTEs. For our grants, you see them below: the STD, HIV, Beach Watch, PHEP, Zika, 1115 waiver, BOD-POD, and rehab, not including animal control. We have 19.5 employees. If you include animal control,
Sorry, what's BOD-POD again?
the BOD-POD is a state-of-the-art piece of equipment that was bought by the city and the county. It's a $50,000 piece of equipment that you actually get in. You take a 2-minute test, and it measures body fat and
Got it.
muscle.
Got it.
And for a total of 44 employees that are county-funded. I brought environmental kind of as a snapshot of a lot of our different divisions, because environmental, if you look at it and first looking at it, you'll think, oh, it's all city. That's not the case. We had an MOU, we had county inspectors, we had city inspectors. In the MOU, it was agreed that the county inspectors would become city inspectors, but that the authority would be over both the city and the county. So that they would all still go and do inspections in the city and in the county. They would do septics, they would do restaurants, and they do. They do Port A, they do, all these different areas. Our concern is that, and we do have one county employee, it's a senior administrative support staff, but the intent of the health district was to become more standardized, to become kind of one of something, and to work for everybody. And it's kind of becoming bifurcated again, and it's becoming problematic. So when we go to try to pay for gas for our city inspector, because he's been traveling to Port Aransas, 3 times this week, sometimes we're denied on the county side. You can't buy gas because it's a city employee. It's a city employee with county authority to do inspections in the county, and they're using county gasoline. And it's not really fair to put it all on the city. And so we've been talking about unifying the health district. Peter sounds like he's on board. I know you and I have talked, and it sounds like the county may be on board as well. This would be a really great time to try to fix this, because it's starting to get really split again. What was intended to kind of try to standardize, I think the county made some changes. Now some of our health district employees, they're nurses, but they're non-exempt. But my city ones are exempt. it becomes problematic when I'm trying to do health fairs or overtime or
Right.
everything.
Well, I
is-
think Peter and I just, what we want is consistency and predictability. And we want to take employees out of the conversation.
and
In other words, I don't want employees to be worried about a P card that works only on Mondays but not on Wednesdays. I mean, I'm being very
Right.
loosey-goosey
absolutely.
here, but
no.
And that's what we've generally talked about. We haven't had a chance. He just got his briefing, but I think that we're on the right track to the right conversations. It just, as long as we each have an understanding of what we're contributing and what that goes for, but somehow it is very convoluted and it's not allowing
Us to just be able to work.
just to do your job.
Right.
You shouldn't have to be worried about the administrative. That's supposed to be our job. And
I
I'm,
told Peter he's already been here a month. I'm not sure what the holdup is.
poor Peter.
Because he took off running, but it's like, it's a month now, let's go. So, and he's ready to do this, but there's so many things.
There's a lot, as you know, that goes into it, but
Absolutely.
but I am listening. I do, since we stopped, I wasn't going to go backwards, but I've got a note here to ask you, that 1115 waiver funding from the county, so is that flowing from the hospital district and then back to the county department, your health department?
Yes and
Yeah.
no. The IGT, yes, but we get the other, we do, it's
You do
like,
your own 1115 IG,
well, the IGT comes from the hospital
Correct.
district, but then we make the money from Health and Human Services. So it's like 1 million from the hospital district and
Oh,
1.5
I gotcha.
from Health and Human
Because
Services.
I was surprised at that number. Okay, that makes sense to me now.
Hey, Judge, a couple of years ago, they talked about, because there's such a split here, because the city and the county are both running the health department,
Right.
which never made sense to me, because I don't see how you can have two bosses. Has there been any conversation about that? Because they had talked about trying to give it to the county.
Before the judge
Mm-hmm.
came on board, the city, Margie Rose,
Mm-hmm.
brought it to the judge, and she gave 3 options, put it together, keep it separate, and they voted on just keep it the way it is.
Well, we have a new judge. I don't know where
Right.
she stands.
Tyner?
but-
Right.
Yeah, they studied it. Teresa has a backup. We can get that for you.
You know what? I think it's just, let me take a look at it. I mean, but again, I don't want to make any decision in a box. I just want to start the conversation so that we could all weigh in on it, but this is the perfect time. If nothing else, there can be some, what I would call significant changes that could make life a lot easier for everybody.
Right.
But yes, I think it all needs to be looked at, but
It has been a few years because it was back when Commissioner Pusley was here, when he was working with Steve to review
Right.
this, and under the judge telling him to review this, working with Margie on the city side to find out what the best way is going with it. And you said it came in, they decided this is the best way to do this because, for example, we need someone in our EOC that covers the entire county. So that's why they said we need to keep it like it is, because if it's just city, then she couldn't come and do outside the city limits. But if she was just the county, she couldn't do inside the city limits. That's why we kind of had to try to keep it together. But now that we have the new county judge and new city manager, maybe we want to have another review of this.
Worth the conversation.
I mean, we both are interested in the same thing, the health and safety of everybody at a price that makes the allocation fair.
And
It's
like-
pretty
like-
simple.
Like she was saying on this one where it's saying where the county won't pay for the gas, and that's not 100% correct. We will, but we need to know how much of this fuel that they're putting in mileage rate that are outside the city. So if he drives around the city, then goes to Port Aransas, we understand from where the city stops at Port Aransas, we'll cover that cost. But we need a mileage log and some other kind of logs to tell us how much our percentage of that cost is. And we've never been given that.
Again, just, I hate to say it, but just a need for better protocols, better policies will help the predictability. Because then we
Right.
look to him and say, hey, we hold them accountable. So
Right.
they need it as much as we do.
Yeah, and it used to be different. If we needed county gas, we would just go to the county gas pumps and use our county P card, and we'd get county gas. And so we needed city gas, and so we thought we'd standardize it by doing it all city and then billing back the county. But it has become problematic. It's not as easy as just, the logs sound easy. It's just not that easy. So, but we are working
We'll
towards
work
that.
on that. Okay,
And-
sorry, no.
But
go
that's
ahead.
okay, but one of the things that came with the study was, we used to have like a 60-40 split, because the county judge always said 60% of the population is city, so they should pay 60% and the county pay 40%. But then Margie and the county, they had this real intensive, detailed study, and they were like, no, you guys were off. In purchasing, it's 53%, 47. It makes my life harder. It didn't make it easier, because that's for one, that's for purchasing. For facilities, it's 49 and 50, I'm like, okay, we were doing good to remember 60/40 for all these things and 50/50 for certain staff. And now we've added in 3 more different,
Well, the good thing is Mr. Zanoni brings the perspective of a very large urban county.
yes.
So I think it'll be great to sit down with him and work on all these issues. I think we're headed in the right direction.
I'm hoping so. I think so.
By the way, I want someone's permission. I feel weird eating a donut in front of the health department. But
absolutely.
I'm going to do it. But I don't want anyone to look, I've been hiding it. I'm like, why am I nervous here? You're a viral immunologist.
Who's counting?
You saw it. You're just a viral immunologist, right? You don't care about that.
Who's counting 380 calories? We're not.
Okay.
So,
It's Carolyn's fault.
Yeah, my office.
oh no.
I'm hungry. It's been a bad morning. I gotta.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Closer to 300 calories.
Oh
you,
yeah.
Dr.
Oh, she's giving you some grace here.
Frosting.
So the health district employees has a total of 115.98. Let's just say 116 employees, and I've already given you the breakdown.
Okay, here's the stuff.
Okay. So the general fund for the county, the 3091 for the health district, what we're asking for is additional $5,000 increase, and that's for overtime. And that's because we are also first responders, and we respond to emergencies and other events, but we also do like back to school drive-throughs. We do fall festivals on Saturdays, and so we do need a certain amount of funds, to pay for overtime for these employees. And so we asked for 5,000 there.
Do you mind if I ask you why you're so low, though, year to date?
We just are. We've always just done comp time.
I see.
That's the way we were kind of raised, and so you give them comp time, and so we don't hardly ever do. And then we used to have problems with some grants wouldn't allow for overtime, so we hated to not give to some and give to others. But now that's kind of fallen off the grid, and so now that it's allowable. But yes, it is very low. The car allowance, we're requesting the 1728 additional for the director's car allowance, the assistant directors from the county, which will be added to the total, being 3,456. It would still be a 60-40 split between the city and the county. We do travel to rural areas and, Banquetti, Alduce, Cindy Park, Port Aransas. We also do public health emergency preparedness, and we go out to the schools. We have bod pods out in these areas as well, so the continuation of that travel. And then the 4730 is requested as well for a reclassification of a position. This one's an interesting one because in that real detailed study that they did that we were talking about a few minutes ago with Commissioner Pusley and Margie Rose, they added in a purchasing person for the city, not for the health district, for the city, but to help us with purchasing because all purchases for the city county health district go through the city. And so they added a purchasing person. Well, come February of this year, purchasing, their senior buyers all got pay increases. And so they did call me and they asked me, can you pay that portion from the city county health district? And I said, I'll talk with the county, but that's not really the way it works for us. We have to go to, Commissioner's Court. We have to request it through budget workshop. And it's usually at the beginning of the fiscal year. And so I talked with Tyner, and he agreed that we probably needed to wait. Purchasing said they were going to go ahead and give the raise anyway because they couldn't keep one person out, which, welcome to my world. This is my world every day. But so she went ahead and gave it to everybody, and she was going to pay with purchasing, city's own purchasing money for that differential. According to the auditor's office today, that's not happening. They've been billing that anyway, and we've been paying it. I said, wow.
That's what I figured.
But we do want to get approval for that because they did, and they're just trying to meet certain market prices for everybody and try to give them that increase. So that's why we are asking for that. For the capital outlay, the only thing that we asked for, and I know it sounds like a lot, it's 84. The reason we ask for that amount is because the city, we lease all of our computers at the health district through the city, and then we reimburse through the county. But the city is going away from lease purchases, so they've told us now that we have to buy all our computers, and so we put that into the budget. And so it's for 38 employees, for the 38 county employees, and it's at $2,300 for the tower, the monitor, the software licenses, and the keyboard.
And I noticed that, that Johnny Hip, the director of the hospital district, he was here with me yesterday, and he made note that he had sent me an email, so I looked at it last night, and, you know, all he did was really direct it back to us.
Okay.
In other words, commissioners, he's looking for direction to say whether we want that to be a part of the hospital district's budget or not. What do you think, Dale?
Well, normally, the situation we have with the city county health, they will not pay for capital outlay. They've told us many times.
Is it a
they will
policy?
not pay. Their policy for them, they will not pay for capital assets. So if we want to pay this capital asset, it must come out of our general fund. That's
And
what we've been told by the hospital district for years.
And that's true. We
That's
have
why
heard-
they're sitting on 90 million, I guess.
No, we've actually heard that, you know, and even before Dell was here, when Peggy Hayes was here, we heard that, but the hospital district has always paid for any of our computer needs, so, from the hospital district budget.
Yeah. And
No,
he-
they haven't. We put it in and we have to transfer the general fund because they will refuse to pay for it.
Well, what they mean is they do it, but then it comes out of another fund. You know, they're not quite,
Could be,
they're quite not.
definitely.
Well, look, I'd like to explore it. The hospital district is in a unique position with no debt and tremendous cash reserves. And we just, as a county, made it possible through LPPF that they are going to have their safety net. I think this is something that they should look at. But I don't know if their policy, you know, needs to be revamped. And so that's something that we need to, Tyner, we probably need to write a letter requesting that that we are asking for them to look into a policy change that would allow the option, I mean, they still get to vote on it, right? But the option to have capital outlay, among other board policies that I'm very upset about. I mean, that's what happens when, here I'll pontificate for a little bit. That's what happens when policies are not constantly looked at and reviewed. It is just a shame. And then they sit there and act like, you know,
Now,
that they're waiting for us to give them direction. They have to constantly say, gosh, this is an issue. You know, maybe we should look at our board policies.
well, we have been slipping a few through because since we started 1115 waiver, the city county, the hospital district is our IGT's person. They send the money to the, up before it comes back down. And we usually use that in our contribution to the city county health for their reimbursement. So we slip some stuff through there that they don't know about.
Good, Dale.
They know about it, but they can't do anything about it.
Well, look, you know, it's arbitrary how much money they collect on their pass-through entity, you know, fee. It can vary. And that's why I say it's not like I'm trying to make them pay for something that's not appropriate. It's that through the through the 1115 waiver, and now what will soon be called the LPPF supplemental funding, they have the ability to really take a very large fee for being the pass-through entity. And the I guess the quid pro quo is that to do that, you should be flexible, you know, in giving those items that are needed. The nice thing is we need to kind of work on this. Lisa and I are really in sync on this idea of it's helpful for this court to know how you can see things over time. So, for example, if these computers were given, let's just say hypothetically, forget the funding source. If you got your 84,000, my query to you to start thinking about this is you wouldn't need the capital outlay for this type of technology for the next
3-4 years.
4 years. 4 years.
Right.
4 years.
That little asterisk down below is very helpful so that we know if we make that investment today, that we won't see anything in the next 4 years in that line. Does
Correct.
that make sense?
That makes absolute sense.
And the same thing, Commissioner Modis asked a question yesterday that I want to piggyback and get all departments who are listening to think about, and that is that if you've asked successive years for the same thing, he's interested in knowing about, I mean, the court is interested in knowing about it, so that we say, gosh, for 5 years, they have not had a capital outlay in technology. So maybe this is their year.
Oh, yeah.
Those little additions are really helpful. This is ground one when round 2 and round 3 get going, those are the conversations we're going to have. So anything you want to supplement along those lines to Tyner would be helpful. Is that a fair,
Yes.
is that a fair
Yes, Judge.
paraphrase of how,
We can definitely add that, because I know it's been at least 5 years since we've asked for any capital outlay.
because I don't have that background.
Right, but we'll
And he-
definitely put that
And
in
he may
there.
or may not, depending on how long it's been.
Right,
You wouldn't normally.
Well, I
True.
understand why the city is going from a leasing to a purchasing because of GASB 87.
Tell me again?
GASB 87.
Oh, Gatsby, right.
Now they got to basically.
talked about that.
Do all this assets as a complete asset. Now, I know that we have a MOU agreement with the City County Health but on this particular issue, I know our IT department is trying to fade away from a laptop going to the iPads. I don't know if this is something they may want to work with our side on this issue because the iPads would be a lot cheaper.
but all the purchasing goes through the city.
I know,
I mean,
that's.
because of the
on
MOU.
MOU, it's one thing that is this something we can?
Right,
work
but you're
with?
saying if I had a chance to have that conversation,
Could we?
have that conversation on that side of the block, of the city side, and say, hey, would you all consent to
RT is
iPads?
pushing to go to iPads is something y'all willing to do because our IT department was saying our laptops, this kind of laptops would cost you $1,800 a piece. iPad costs you $900.
And some of our issues are security for HIPAA compliance, for STDs. We have to have certain, towers and those types of things. But definitely is something we would look into. Because
You're not opposed to it, just let's.
no,
look
not
into
at
it and
all.
see
Like
if
for the inspectors, they work perfect, the tablets,
Maybe for some, but not all.
Right.
Okay.
That would kind of reduce the cost a little bit.
Can you just make that little note there that we're going to inquire? It might help pay for example, her overtime.
Right, that's true, if it was reduced by that amount. The next one is the budget. It's a 1354, and this is an old program. I want to say older than 10 years. We used to have a cholesterol screening grant, and we made some money, and the money still stays there, and it just rolls over from year to year. And this year, we've decided it's a great time with our vision for community health and physical fitness and wellness to use this money. We'd like to use all of it, 109,298. And it's not only for initiatives, incentives, food demonstrations, contract workers to come in and do yoga classes, Zumba classes, and it's not for just the health district, it's for county. And so bringing them over, we're trying to work with the new wellness that you guys are bringing back. We really want to see healthy people, because at the health department, people used to come to work and they'd say, but you're not going to make me work out. No, we are. Oh, but we are, so yeah, there is a certain amount of working out that you are expected to do. We really want you to be fit. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be productive employees. And I had an administrator last week said, my personal goal, I lost 10 pounds. And I said, welcome to the health department. So we want to promote that. We want to be the ones that walk the walk. We're teaching people and they look to us for that. And so we really need to be able to be those role models, but that just keeps going. It's not just exclusive to the health department. Wellness goes to the rest of the county, goes to the rest of the city. We're trying to push it out, and we want to go, community-wide at some point and give everybody the benefit of learning about this. So we have a bigger vision, but I'll talk about that in just.
So are you behind the elevator not working over here? That's the problem.
That was me. No, I'm kidding. And ours doesn't work either.
Just
The
know that
stairs.
there is only 109,280 in this county that's been there for, as she said, 10 to 20 years.
Been there a long time.
And once the money's gone, it's gone.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question, actually, and it could be sitting on my email, so I'm sorry if you've already answered it, Teresa, but, so obviously we have a new excitement, we have a small committee, wellness committee, Annette, and we have already, figured out how to create these monthly luncheons, so that's working well. But I just wanted to say, like, the demonstrations, I mean, it seems like we've got a lot of people already, everything for free signed up, but let's
Right.
just pretend for a minute, the next phase, which is about to get started, where we're going to offer classes possibly 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week, three times a week in our training room downstairs during the
Right.
lunch hour for 30 minutes.
Right.
Those instructors would need to get paid.
Right.
And I was looking for a funding source. Is that a possibility through this
Absolutely.
contingency?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we also have trainers at the health district, so we'd
So
like.
they could also substitute in?
Right.
Okay.
We're going to do chair volleyball for them, and we've given them Fitbits for, for their raffles and stuff, but they need more of it. We used to do Fitbit challenges where we'd actually check out the Fitbit to you. For $25, we'd check it out, and then we'd give you back your check for $25, and you check it back in. So we're going to do big, innovative things. We're looking at treadmills that you use, so while I'm at the podium, I'm actually still walking, or while you're at your desk, Judge, and you've got your 4 monitors, you pick up your very desk and you're just walking. It's a slow pace. You're not doing running there because you're still doing emails. We want you to keep working as long as you can. And so, but we're going to check them out to people. We want to check them out to the county employees and say, you've got this treadmill for a week, utilize it underneath
So
your
this
desk.
idea of the 60/40.
Move your chair back.
Dale, this idea of 60/40,
That's
all
not
she,
this.
it's not this, so she doesn't have to worry.
County funds completely.
Right.
That's
this is-
great. Okay, that's what I was worried about is
But,
that,
so because Peter's real about wellness as well, so we have 1115 waiver funds on the city side as well. We have 1.1 million, and so we're looking at building a outdoor gym on the bayfront. That was the vision that he had. We had a gym more closer to the health district. He wants it on the bayfront, open gym, equipment that's there, steady, free.
I'm gonna have to school him on, all the equipment and the oxidation that we're gonna have. I mean, it's
Right.
an awesome idea, but
talked
just
about
get engineering on it, because I don't know, everything would have to be stainless steel.
Well,
right?
And a lot of places
Everything.
are going to this. You
Yeah.
look at Fort Worth, they're going to these outdoor
Yeah.
places that people could just go and get healthy. It's not a playground for kids.
Right.
It's
Well,
not-
you just have to use the right equipment,
Right.
right? Because of the caustic nature of the salt water.
Absolutely. So,
Very interesting. Okay, that's good. Well, Wellness Committee, I think both of you are on it. You now understand where your funding source is. That's exciting. And like I said, Teresa probably already knew it. I just hadn't gotten the sync up.
we're also requesting to appoint, Sandra asked this morning, Commissioner Jagg's secretary asked about appointing one of our health district employees to the wellness.
Oh, I think that's a great idea.
And so our fitness trainer, Sarah Wagner, would be the one that we would appoint. And so,
And for the other commissioners, this is brand new. The committee is Margaret Mead. It's Teresa, Maggie, Monica, and now maybe a member, but we're always looking for volunteers. So if there's a commissioner that wants to sit on this, but the idea is monthly wellness luncheons with great topics, and we're collecting suggestions from the employees themselves, even though we're started it off, so we have, a protocol. And then the training room, as you walk in, you'll see Justice Benavides and Santana's courtroom's the left, but if you go immediately, look to the right, there's a room there that is, it's a nice size room, and they're going to have yoga, 12:15 to 12:45, and this is not, I've been assured that it's not, you don't have to be an expert. And I'm counting on that, by the way. And 12:15 to 45, it's basically a strength training program for people like me that are over their desk all the time. This is about corrective. So I don't want people to think that this is, you have to be a fitness nut or fitness guru.
absolutely
This is
not.
for all of us that work hard. If you work hard, which I know is 100% of us in this county building, you need to learn how to take that back and get rid of the pressure that we all have by hunching over and doing these things. And so this is like corrective, I think it's called strength training. And you don't even have to have weights. You could if you wanted to, but this is not meant for that. And that's,
right.
we're going to start off slow, but we're going to build to what I call the what is it, beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes. But
the gladiators.
yeah, the ninjas, we'll put them on the roof. But anyway, I think it's part of the economic model too. If you're self-insured, you have to have this. But we need your help, and I'm glad you're here to talk about that. But the fact that there's funding is I'm thrilled. Oh, I was going to pay for it myself, but now I think that the county
We're
needs
here to
to
help.
invest in itself.
That's true. That's very true. So our vision is for the community to have access to free exercise classes, access to nutritional information, reduce chronic disease burden on this community, reduce obesity. So we looked at the outdoor wellness programs. We looked at if you didn't have room, take it up to the roof, your corporate wellness. We're looking at that for the health district as well. So we're moving on to the next one, which is a very important one, and this is the 1115 waiver funds. And so we've asked for some increased funding. The main one I really want to talk about is the 20,000. The big ones are the 20,000 for increased clinical supplies, and that's because we do a lot of A1Cs. So we do A1C testing, and that's a 3-month, kind of picture of what their diabetes really looks like. But we also are asking for $20,000 additional, and we're not really asking for additional. We have the money. We're just asking if we can spend it because we do have a budget of 3.7, and so we're asking, can we move this to this line item, and can we spend it for notices? We want to notify people this is going on, we have this going on here. We want to put signs on the back of buses, bus benches, so they know about us, they know where to find us. We want them to come to us, but we also have bod pods that we take out and around, and we have a trailer now that thank you to the commissioners for us acquiring a trailer from Texas A&M, and we got that this week. I have a picture of it coming up if you want to. It's right there. The trailer is on the left side. We need a vehicle, and so we put that in the budget for capital outlay. Again, we have money in the Medicaid funds, the 1115 waiver, and we're just wanting to spend them for the right things to keep this community health on the right track. And so we're very, very excited because this is where we're asking for the capital outlay. This is where the equipment will come from. So what I was talking about, the treadmills that you're going to check out that go under your desk, this is where we're going to pay for it from. For other equipment, to maybe utilize around the courthouse, or if there's a particular place or on the roof, this is where this money would come from. And so we started at the health district with kind of nutrition and fitness and just get up a little bit and just walk to the printer. By golly, quit rolling there. You don't need to roll. We use our chairs because they have rollers to roll to everything. We don't need to roll to our printers. We can get up and go to them, actually walk. And so taking the stairs instead of using the elevator. And so, we've turned off certain elevators. And so just doing those types of things. But this is the time to actually get the equipment and to roll it out in a big way and start getting people interested in moving. I'm the first person to say I never wanted to exercise, but you're going to gain weight 2 to 5 pounds a year if you do nothing. If you just do your normal life and you go to your work and you go home, you're going to gain 2 to 5 pounds a year. In 10 years, that's a lot of weight, 20 to 50 pounds for not doing anything except just existing. So you have to do something. You have to burn those calories in order to, not to gain those weight over those years. And so we're telling people you got to know when to get up. You got to know when to move. So we want to give them incentives to do that. And the incentive should be your health, but we still want to incentivize them to get healthy. And so this is a real great push for us. We're really, really excited about this, and we hope that you guys will agree that it's the time to do it, because we could keep talking about it, but it's time to do it. We want to do chair volleyball, and we do chair volleyball because when we do chair volleyball, everybody's like, well, I can stand up. You sure can. That's coming next. But right now, you're going to stay in the chair and you can't move. You can just move your hands. And it's a big ball, so everybody can hit it.
On that vehicle, Dale, that might be a perfect candidate for our lease, that one in particular, because she needs it a certain, the weight has to be probably a 350 in order to move that weight. And don't worry about this. This is just a accounting thing, but we've been considering, leasing vehicles instead of purchasing them because of the maintenance and operation cost on it.
I have to worry about it because on the city side, they didn't lease. Now they do, but at one time, because we still have to buy it through the city.
I forgot about that. We're not autonomous.
I know. Everything gets muddied. And so
Yeah.
we have to go through an RFP through the city to ask permission to
Right.
buy this vehicle.
So just remember that's why everyone loves to hate lawyers until we need them. This is why we need them. I think that you can really redo this agreement. It seems like this agreement is ripe for a redo.
I have two sets.
Really call it an amendment, an amended agreement, not a a redo. It's an amendment because these things aren't working for us as accounting practices changes, as budgets changes, as revenue caps come in. I mean, I would love to have a brand-new car for, but it's just, I heard one of our constables tell us a terrible story about his vehicle, and we want to make sure that we're putting the right dollars in the right allocations. I think this one should be ripe for a lease.
And we have 12 vehicles that we utilize at the health district, but they're all city vehicles. And so recently, we had a county employee that wrecked in the city vehicle, and the city had to take the brunt of the cost. And so that's why a lot of this conversation is coming up again, because that's how we get into this. Well, you do this, we'll split this, it makes it very difficult for us, and so the Commissioner Jack said, get a county vehicle. Easier said than done. And last time I tried to get a county vehicle, it took me 2 years. And so, yeah, Lisa remembers.
But I want to double check, so they can lease now? The city, or no?
Now the city does do lease options. And so they may, but I don't know if they can lease for the county.
I see. I don't know.
I don't know. Everything's just, we got tags that were city, and then we had to go pay for them again because the county wanted them to be tags for the county.
And Tyner, on history, can you remind me, has this been since the agreement that was forged? Do you remember the year?
It's,
2009.
2009.
Yeah, and, was there an amendment after that? Several amendments.
But
There
April,
have been several amendments.
but April 2009 was the,
The first amendment was in 2013. The original went in 2009, and immediately the following week, the following Commissioners Court, there was an amendment to it following
Got
the
it.
original adoption.
Okay.
So 2013 was the latest amendment.
that was.
No, there was another amendment for the buyer that came through just recently. That was
Yeah, 2017.
2017. That's correct.
The 2009 was the main one, the original, so. And so our request is, and we're moving towards that, the rural community, the mobile clinic, the on-site wellness and community wellness is just so exciting to us, but I'm not going to keep lingering on it, is to become a unified health district. And so to at least have the conversations to start that, where we're one of something. We're either all county employees, all county policies. Everything sounds easy to us when we talk like that, or all city employees, a city health building, and the county pays into it, or the city pays into the county, one or the other. We still work for both, but we just don't have the bifurcated systems that we have now that are so confusing. And we know very well at the health district how it works most of the time. Sometimes we're confused too. But when you try to take something through purchasing and then we get, kickback from the county, you didn't bring it to Commissioner's Court. Well, we don't go to Commissioner's Court because we go to City Council if it's over 50,000, but you have to go to Commissioner's Court if it's over 1,000, but then you have to go if it's over 5,000, and because it's in our MOU.
And tell me, not that I want to give homework, but if you could share with are there other counties that are similar to ours that do this bifurcated? Are we,
We're the only ones.
we have this,
They've all split. They've
Yeah,
all split
okay.
back to either,
Corpus.
they're either all city health department, all county health department, or they're a city county health district and one buys into the other. They don't
got it.
have,
This is not best practices
right.
for the grade 8, for the top 8 urban counties. Okay.
We are looking at a business plan to present to Peter, and we will share it with you as well, Judge, that talks about a unified health district and maybe what that would take to actually get there.
It's not good. Okay.
I was going to stop you.
I guess I have some water here.
Already went
So,
there.
so once we work on this business plan, and I've had one from probably 18 years ago, I just don't have an updated one, get one together again and kind of show you maybe where we could go with it and how we would get there.
I support you. I've been on both sides and I get it. It's crazy.
It is. Yes, thank you, thank you. And I just mentioned a few things,
Sure,
everything.
the auditors would love one system too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, they have to read that Bible as well. Look at her, just notes to self.
Well, and I always say sometimes when we bifurcate, it's the obstacles that are created when you want to have them. In other words, it allows for
Absolutely.
this side, right, to say,
Oh, that doesn't work for
That
me.
doesn't work for me.
And
then
then it
there's the other
allows-
side to say, you know what, well, that's not our system. In other words, when you don't like something,
Right, you
you
just
can
use
use the
that.
system, you can play the game.
We've been used
So appreciative, thank you.
all over the place, so we get the short end of the stick
Right.
usually.
Yeah,
Well-
and then I know, because we call Sarah often when they have a new employee coming in and they use the city to buy stuff and the city allows certain things that the county doesn't.
Right,
And
like
they send
food.
over an invoice saying, we want this paid for, and we say, well, the county doesn't, will never pay for it, and so you need to make the city pay for it. And unfortunately, the person that was new doesn't know this because the city allows it, but that's somewhere it's a challenge.
All right. And with the grants, we used to be able to spend our money the way we needed to, and now, and the general fund I can understand, but now the grants are so restrictive too. You can't do that. You can't buy this.
Well, right, and you don't know this unless you just were watching, but we've been having a lot of interesting discussions about grants the last 3 days and how we can create indirect cost allocations. And that's, now I've got a new big idea to add to my big board, and they don't exist in your world right now.
Well, indirect's allowed on the county side, but we don't have a system to be
Well,
able to get
that's
that
right.
money drawn
So we
down.
want to change that for countywide. And then all of a sudden, you can put more money back in your coffers, right? Because you can actually find
We
these
could.
allocations. So,
Yes,
We've been trying to
right.
pay for
We've been trying to get our.
yeah, and I know Dale, you know, it's wonderful.
What, 3 years, Dale?
Oh, more than that.
Yeah, so here's the good news. You now have a new voice and a new champion for this. I love this idea. Grants are just key. The other thing is that I'm working on a fiscal brief, and as I passed it out the state of the county, and it was good, but I think we can even get better at it, and I'm doing my second iteration. And I've decided after listening to all this about the health, that people would be really interested to know how this is all playing out. Because you need to get buy-in. When you change something, you need to have community buy-in. That's this monumental. Anyway, well, I hear you. Are there any other questions? I want to give you a chance to hear from everybody else. It's great. And Dante, again, Dr. Gonzalez, congratulations. Thank you. I'm going to tell you a little funny story. You know what? We're done? Okay, I'm going to get us out and off the mics. Then I'll tell you the funny story.